Hello chaps, in this video we're going to look at how I painted this Hive Fleet Leviathan Tyranid. So I start off by priming the miniature black, then I mix Tenebrous grey and deep purple from AK Interactive in a 50-50 mix and do it a little bit diluted. I do a couple of coats just to build up the general colour. This goes over both the skin as well as the carapace, so we're basically painting the whole model. And this is what it will look like when it's completed. The only difference is I haven't painted the claws and the hooves. For the next stage I use the same 50-50 mix, but I add a bit of vampire flesh to the mix to lighten it slightly. This is painted over the model again, except I leave the carapace, which I work on later. As you can see, I'm focusing mainly on the upper areas and trying to leave a little bit of the original color in the shadows. And here you can see the stage completed, so basically the flesh has been painted and left the carapace the original color. For this stage I add a little bit more vampire flesh to lighten the color even further. I try and work at the top 50% of the shapes of the flesh. So as you can see, as I'm working here, I'm leaving a little bit of the original color and working more on the top and leaving some in the shadow. So here we have the stage complete. So as you see, there's slightly more highlight sitting at the top where the light would naturally catch the skin, and we're leaving the original colors in the shadows. So for this stage we're adding even more vampire flesh to the previous mix, and as you can see, I'm working just where the light is going to be catching it at the most. This gives a feeling of natural volumes, and so when you're looking at the miniature you get a nice gradient coming from the darker at the bottom to the lighter at the top. And here's this stage completed, so you're starting to see a bit of a gradient in color as we move along. For this stage we're mainly using a vampire flesh with just a little bit of the previous mix, so there's just a little of purple in it, and we're just working at the top kind of 25% of each shape. So this is starting to get to your larger highlights and really bringing out the different shapes for when you're looking at the miniature. So here's this stage completed, and you start to see that the main kind of color of the flesh is coming through. For the final highlight of the flesh I use the vampire flesh, and I just pick out kind of the tops of each area in order to get that final highlight. I can appreciate I've used quite a few steps to get here, but I'm trying to get as smooth a transition as possible in the shortest amount of time, where you have the highlights at the top leading to that purpley color in the shadows. And here you have the flesh complete, and you see this nice transition starting in the darks and having the shadows getting up to the highlights at the top. So the next step is now to work on the carapace, where I use AK Interactive's Deep Purple, and basically I edge highlight each piece, as you can see I'm busy with here. And then on the carapace itself, on the body and on the head, I'll make short sharp lines. So here you have it with the lines kind of halfway up the carapace and as well as on the head. Next I use pure magenta to do the highlight on the carapace. As you can see I'm doing the short lines, and then I edge highlight where the light will be catching on the mini. And that's the carapace done. Simple and quick, and I think quite effective. Now I'm working on the claws and the hooves. So I start off by using a 50-50 mix of dirty red and tenebrous grey, and this is basically painted over these areas to build up a solid base. And here you have it with basically all the reds painted in. For this step I added a bit of additional dirty red to the previous mix and basically focus on the tops of each of these items, leaving a bit of the original color in the recesses. For the final step I just use a pure dirty red and highlight the edges of each of the claws and the hooves for the final step, just to make them pop. And there you have it, the completed Tyranid. If you have any further questions, please leave it in the comments. Otherwise, see you next time.